Hi and welcome to a video. In this video, I'll be critiquing and redesigning some OCs submitted by some lovely people on the internet who have graciously allowed me to talk about their characters. This will probably be quite a long video, so timestamps will be in the description, along with all the links to characters and the art of them in this video. There's one person who wishes to remain anonymous, so I've left the links away for now. But if that person changes their mind, please feel free to contact me and I'll change it right away. Before I start, just a small disclaimer, everything I say in this video is simply my opinion and ideas. There's no need to take them seriously at all, I'm just here to put my 2 cents in. Feel free to ignore everything I say. I also need to apologize for taking so long to make this video, but I've been suffering from some migraines the last week and I just couldn't get anything done except for lie under a blanket. So I'm really sorry about that. But now I'm finally making it, so on to the video. First up is the character Miki Mui from the creator of the same name. They've asked for just a critique this time. So looking at the profile, I can see the character is 19, they're Japanese, they are gender fluid and a traveler. Obviously they have wolf ears and a tail, and it seems they can also transform fully into a wolf. I just want to note that as I was drawing the OC, I believe it's still stated they were feminine leaning, hence the way I drew them here in the speed paint. Now I am seeing they are using he, him and they, them pronouns, so I'll stick with that. Now onto the backstory, where I can comment on some things. The story is that they come from a pack based on the black fur color, but their sister Chloe was taken at a young age because she was born with white in her fur, therefore meaning she should belong to a different pack. This resulted in the pack nearly being wiped out and Miki was taken away and raised by a lone wolf. Miki now seeks revenge after learning about what has happened. Exactly. So first of all, I really like the idea of the packs being separated by colors. It's a defining trait, making the characters easy to recognize and also to kind of sort them in a way. I also think this is a solid backstory that gives the character a motivation and a goal, and gives some info on the world building. My critique would be in the details. So for example, you've stated Miki as Japanese, however in my knowledge there are no wolves in Japan anymore, also they would probably be different to the well-known wolf that people are familiar with, like in Europe and stuff. This isn't really that important and can be kind of explained with just a bit of writing, but it's a thing to be taken into account. Next is that I have a question, which would be why was Miki taken away by a lone wolf? You say the pack was nearly entirely slaughtered. My question is, does this include her parents, and do they want revenge on the other clan that took Chloe, so if they were still alive, if not, then that's that. And how young was Miki when Chloe was taken? I assume very young, since they don't know anything. Does Chloe know about Miki, and if yes, how did she find out about this? And yeah, these are just some questions I have that could help build up your story into something more tangible. So try filling in the details because you have a really good base, I think. On to the personality, not much to say, they're cheerful and sociable. There's one sentence I would change where it says she is quite courageous but despite that often doubts herself. These are kind of 2 contradictory statements, and perhaps saying she's strong-willed or just strong instead of courageous would make more sense. So they have wolf powers and physical enhancements and can merge with Chloe. This drains their energy and affects the sanity. I think these powers make sense and have adequate drawbacks to have compelling fights. They also have magical weapons they can equip. That would be a switchblade and a sledgehammer. I believe that they're also shared with Chloe. Personally, I think these extra weapons aren't really needed, since wolves have natural weapons like claws and fangs. I also wouldn't know how a wolf would carry a knife. The last thing I'll mention is the design. So overall, it's nice and simple. And but you say they like to keep their hair down and that the length is varied. But I would recommend just keeping it to short if she likes to keep it down, so she can fight more easily. That's all I have to say for Miki. Moving on, next is Raakone from DeviantArt, or if I'm pronouncing that wrong, with their character Ingrid. This time it will be a redesign with a critique. So I believe they are a species created by the user. Unfortunately, I cannot pronounce it. But yes, the father is a kind of humanoid raccoon with wings, and the mother is a human with peacock feathers. Ingrid herself is a small child, aged 4 to 8. She has white fur, peacock feathers, and wings. It seems her fur is quite warm and she can go in the snow even with just a sundress. Additionally, she has a playful personality. I don't think I can comment on the personality that much. She's a child and probably still developing, but having her be adventurous and playful makes sense, especially in an outdoor environment. I see you've drawn her with a human friend, so my question would be how she is treated by other species or humans. Maybe think of the way she interacts with the world and vice versa. My main points are with the design. So first, I would like to say it is a very creative design and it makes one think about what kind of world she lives in. It's quite eye-catching. Now, as I'm bringing up points I am critiquing, I will also explain how I changed the design in my version. So you're right, she is white because of a genetic glitch. Of course, I immediately thought of albinism, which is, I guess, in very simple terms, when there's a lack of pigment. So I also kept her completely white, but changed the eye color to pink. People with albinism can appear to have pink or purple eyes because of the absence of the pigment and the way the light filters through the eyes or something like that. I'm no expert. But red seemed too harsh, so I chose pink. Next, I made the wings smaller since she is still very young. They definitely have room to grow. I also made her legs more animal-like. This is just a personal choice and I actually didn't have much reason behind it. The last and most significant change I made is the tail feathers. Now the reason for this is because female peacocks actually don't have such large and colorful tail feathers like the male peacocks. They are much smaller in comparison and usually brown on peacocks, that is. So since Ingrid is a little girl, I went ahead and just made the tail feathers smaller and used the same color as her body with a tinge of pink on the end of the feathers. Somewhere I read that the mother could see through the feathers, so I used the eye color on Ingrid's tail to allude to that. The same with the head feathers. Sorry if this goes against the rules of this species, but I just thought it made sense to change the feathers to portray how peacocks are in real life. The last point is the necklace. It seems there is some kind of planned significance for it, so all I can say is hopefully you can think of what it means and add more details to flesh out your character. Next up is Hideaki from NYUNEIN. I love the name. First of all, I want to say he gives the vibe that he drinks coffee out of beakers, and I'm here for it. Going ahead and looking at the description, he is described as a strange doctor who was kicked out of his workplace for doing illegal experiments, and now he works in an abandoned hospital. This already indicates that he probably has some skewed morals and gives a good impression of his personality while establishing a setting. I would like to know more about his motivations, like what kind of experiments was he doing? Does he believe what he's doing is correct and beneficial, or is he more of like a sadist and just likes acting cruel? That would be my recommendation to think about that. You mentioned a big contrast between his look and his actions. This is good because contrasts always create a point of interest. Looking at his design, he really does look like a big teddy. That brings me to probably the only criticism I can think of, which is that he does look very harmless. Not in all the art, some styles are very good at using lighting and angles to make Hideaki look ominous, but this can't be achieved with all styles. Obviously, that is exactly the point, but I believe there should be some kind of visual hint to show that he's not quite as soft as he seems. This leads me to the redesign I drew. I didn't change much and used most of the colors that were already there. The main changes were in the outfit. For that, I gave him a turtleneck just because I like turtlenecks. Then I made his pants more form-fitting. I added a zipper so he could get his legs through easily. I imagine he uses his surgical skills to alter his clothes to fit his strange body. Next, I changed the coat to a stereotypical doctor's coat you'd think of, just to be super obvious. It's also the only thing I changed the colors of to be more cool instead of warm. Now it looks a bit more sterile. Next, I gave him some pristine white gloves. I think these are a good way to indicate the doctor/experiments aspect. Even though he works in a rundown place, his gloves are still perfect. So that's another kind of contrast. It also creates kind of a distance between him and his patients. At last, I gave him glasses, mostly just as a stereotype. The creator actually told me he actually needs glasses but doesn't wear them after seeing the art, so that was a lucky guess. But just don't ask how they're staying on his head though. Moving on to the body, it's mostly the same. I pushed his hair back out of his face and made his horns a little bit smaller, a bit like a goat. Next is pointy teeth, because they can be interpreted as cute or dangerous depending on how you draw them. Probably the biggest change to the body is the blue on the ears and the tail. On the original design, there are a lot of colors in these places, and there was a lot going on. There's nothing wrong with that, I actually like it. I just wanted to try and change it and kind of fit it into a narrative. My thought when turning it blue was that when he is experimenting with different substances, they end up tinging his tails and ears, and maybe over time it gets more and more rainbow depending on what liquids he's using. Well, that concludes this part, so swiftly moving on because this script is already super long. That brings me to the next OC, the Electronically and Mechanically Charged Android, or E.A.M.C.A, by Digital Fan Person. The story goes that she was created for a specific purpose, which is unknown, and she helps her creator. At some point, she was attacked for being an android and had to be repaired and was given a weapon for self-defense. One day, she was left to do what she likes and became a well-known graffiti artist, causing the relationship with the creator to become strained. Now she acts on her own, trying to improve the city politics through her art. Her personality is described as passive, only using violence when absolutely necessary. She is contemplative and highly opinionated. Also, I forgot to mention, but she's 211 centimeters tall and 19 years old. So I can see that you've used a kind of point system for her stats. I like this format because it's easy to see a kind of overview. It's also good that you've made a kind of balance with the higher intelligence and the lower strength. It also goes with her personality. Her not wanting to hurt anyone would mean her strength stat would be lower. In the backstory, it was mentioned that she was given a weapon, but I would recommend to maybe have her throw the weapon away or return it, just to emphasize her wish not to hurt anyone. That way she can't even reach for a weapon. She's very tall, so her base stats are probably higher than a human anyway, and being an android, that would probably add to that. So she could definitely easily break an arm if she wanted to, even without any weapons. Next, I noticed a bit of a contradiction where it said she is shy, but likes talking about her opinion and like rambling about stuff. This can be clarified just by simply saying like maybe she's shy around strangers, or something like that, like maybe she opens up with friends, just a bit of clarification. Next is a question, but I'd like to know why androids aren't liked in this world. Thinking about this could maybe further your story. For example, this is just a scenario I came up with for an example, maybe where androids are seen as less than human and maybe thought that they're not capable of emotions, or maybe people are scared of them, that they'll turn on people. But maybe to prove these people otherwise, that she is kind and does feel emotions, E.A.M.C.A does art, and it's kind of like the situation in Never Let Me Go, if you know that book. Exactly. So now for the design. Just a tip for the future, try not to add shading to references to make it easier to understand the proper colors that you actually mean to represent. Yes, but the design itself is pretty good already. So I really like how the hair is kind of squarish, since it makes her look more robot-like, and the covered eye kind of shows how she might be shy. I kept the style of the hair, but just changed the color to make it lighter so that there would be a bigger contrast, so that you'd look to her face. For the outfit, I changed the long skirt to some shorts, since she probably has to be running around a lot to avoid being caught. Exactly, with the long skirt it would be a bit difficult. Other than that, I kept the layered shirt look, since it looks pretty cool. It's kind of a street style. Yeah. And at last I put a little ring detail in her eyes, kind of to allude to the original art, and also kind of makes her kind of different as an android. Oh, also I nearly forgot this, but I added some paint splatters to her clothes, just in case you didn't get the hint of what she does from the spray can in her hand. Now for the last OC. This person will be staying anonymous and only wanted a redesign without critique. The character is named Ta, and she is a toy doll. The story goes that she was played with for a long time, but eventually was thrown out when the child got tired of her. After that, she turned real and is out for revenge. However, she only becomes murderous at night and is sweet during the day. She can jump high and carries an accessory hammer weapon thing. Yes. Looking at the original design, she has lightish skin, purple shoulder-length hair, red eyes and bunny ears with a pink and green dress. For the redesign, I basically took all the information and interpreted it in my own way while trying to keep elements of the original. So first of all, I changed the proportions to be more like a plush doll, so she looks super innocent. I kept most of the colors the same because the color palette is actually really cute. I swear, everyone here is so good at picking colors, I could never. I changed the hair to 2 braids to balance out the bunny ears on the head, and stylized it to make it more fabric-like. Not really like doll hair, but more just like a fabric hair. That way her hair would always stay perfect. The ends are pointy. This way they look more dangerous. Triangles are good shapes for this. So trying to use shape language to convey what kind of character you want to make. Moving on to the face, I made her eyes buttons since they look pretty creepy even though they're supposed to look cute. For extra creepiness, I made one falling off, just to show that she did used to be played with a lot. The bright red in the original was a good choice as the only saturated color to create contrast with the other colors. It really brings your eye to the face. For the dress, I changed it to beige just to keep the focus on the face. I also didn't realize the green things on her legs were more like garters, and I thought they were pants, but I think it's okay that they're pants now since she jumps high and probably wouldn't want to flash anyone. Finally, the hammer. I had it attached to her little plush hands so that she can never lose it and only has to wave her arm around to cause some chaos. Well, this was a long recording, and I'm sure I've forgotten half the details I wrote down in my notes, but this is the best I can do. I really tried my best to be fair and not mean, and explain everything so it makes sense. So I hope you can take some tips from this video, even if it wasn't your character I was reviewing or redesigning. Also, thank you again to everyone who submitted their OCs. I really hope you enjoyed the video because I had a lot of fun drawing these characters. If you did like it, leave a like, or if it was terrible, roast me in the comments. If you want to see more videos, consider subscribing. And if you want to follow me on more social media I don't post on, the links are in the description. Thanks for watching, have a good day, bye bye!